Metallica snob, really. Like I only like Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets.
Right.
Yeah, I only like those two, and I love those two.
You don't like the Black Album?
I don't like the Black Album.
Could you pick a track you like from it?
I enjoy Enter Sandman as a rock song.
Okay.
But I wish that somebody else had played it. Also, I do like it for its comic. Like I was like, Enter Light!
Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean, James Hetfield was great with it. He had the best. Ooh yeah!
Ooh yeah! But he wasn't like that in the 80s.
Really?
He was.
It's like Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. If you go back and listen to the early stuff, he's got none of that.
Yeah, exactly. That's all. Oh god.
Hello and muy buenos ding dong diddly dias to everyone. I am Will, the captain of the EFSO ship, and I have with me today one of my best people. Say hello, Jack.
Hello guys, how's it going?
This is Jack. We used to be in a band together in Cadiz. We're both teachers living here in Seville, and today we thought we'd talk about something special.
Yeah, a band that we both liked when we were teenagers, the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Sure. And, well, they're doing a tour. They're starting in Seville, right?
Yeah, new world tour. First time touring with John Frusciante, I think, since he came back in 2019.
Was that when he... Okay, sure. How long was he away?
He left... Well, their last album together was Stadium Arcadium, which was released in 2006, I think.
Really? He left after that?
Yeah, no, I don't know if he left that specific year or whether he left in 2007 or 8 or something like that.
Okay.
I know that Josh Klinghoffer, I think that's his surname, I hope that's right.
The other guy, yeah.
He joined them. I think he'd been a touring guitarist with them. They knew him before they took him onto the band.
Yeah, I remember hearing about this. The name I'm not sure. And
Yeah.
then this is part of the point, really. I didn't like Stadium Arcadium. I thought that was the beginning of, not the end, because I think they're actually a bigger band now.
Yes.
Because of it. That was their, going back a few years, the last time I checked this out, that was their biggest selling album. Certainly bigger than anything before it. Maybe the only one to get to #1 in the States.
I think
Blood Sugar Sex Magik never did that. I don't think 𝐿𝐿𝐼𝐋𝐈 did. Blood Sugar Sex Magik was released the same day as Nevermind. That was or at least in the same sort of release period anyway.
91.
So there was never any chance.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought that was the beginning of the end. I didn't realise that was the last Frusciante album though. But
yeah, because then the next one was 2009's "I'm With You," which is to me an Avril Lavigne song.
Yeah, right. And also, it's
a good
just.
song. Then they had one in 2016, The Getaway, which I didn't really... I think I gave it one quick listen and it wasn't really for me. It had that Dark Necessity song, I think. I think that was on that one and not on the previous one. But yeah, kind of like you, I kind of zoned out after Stadium Arcadium. I didn't even give Stadium Arcadium the full attention that I gave all the previous albums.
Well, it's just... This is controversial. When I was in Almeria, I had a big argument with a big Red Hot Chili Peppers fan. But we got into a big debate, which is unnecessary, but it happens, okay. And he really honestly seemed to believe, being not much younger than me, I'm 35, I think he's in his late 20s maybe, or possibly 30 now. You know, there's not much difference, or it's not a generational thing or anything like that, you know what I mean? But he seemed to count as like one of his all-time classic albums, like this important, influential... Stadium Arcadium. I can't remember if he said he thought it was the best album necessarily, but it's certainly like, you know, you've got those important albums that mark important periods of your life. Blood Sugar Sex Magik and Californication being two of those for me, actually, to be honest, different periods. Ironically, Californication first, then later Blood Sugar Sex Magik.
Yeah, well, it makes sense because
went backwards, yeah.
How old were you when Blood Sugar Sex Magik came out? Like 5?
Right, yeah. You know the most famous songs from it, of course. But, yeah. So I don't know. He was really.
I think I knew the Old Saints version of Under the Bridge before I heard the Chili Peppers.
Really. But I was such a wannabe hipster at primary school that I'd still be like, oh yeah, I can't believe they took it from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but I'm pretty sure I'd never heard it. Or that
this was better when I was 5.
Do you know what I mean? What's happened now? Yeah.
Jesus.
So I don't know. Let's think about it. You mentioned a bunch of albums I haven't really given the time to, so that might disqualify my opinion a little, to be honest. But I've heard the tracks, not being grabbed by them. Some of the tracks, the release songs, I couldn't give you names. And it feels very flat. It feels like uninspired. It's lacking the inspiration that you would have got From like Blood Sugar Sex Magic, where they're locked up in a mansion that they think's haunted and they're taking loads of drugs, which I'm not saying is a good thing, but it was obviously part of what made
What was the
the
mansion
film.
again?
It was Rick Rubin, the producer, I think.
That's right, but it was like a haunted mansion. It was someone. What was it? I should have done some research before we did this. But there was something relevant about where they filmed it. I don't know whether it was meant to be haunted or whether there was a murder there or whether there was something going on that was like spooky about it.
Let's find out. So we've done the research. Jack's done the research. What do you think?
Very brief research. Yeah, so they recorded a mansion in Laurel Canyon that was rented by Houdini for a period before his death, and his wife lived there shortly afterwards. But it's also been the recording studio of other bands like Slipknot. They recorded Volume 3 there, and System of a Down. I don't know what album they recorded there. It might have been Toxicity, but they recorded some album there. And both bands experienced paranormal activity while they were recording there.
What kind of thing though?
Joey Jordison said there was something about him.
Joey Jordan, the drummer, right? Yeah. Slipknot drummer.
The late drummer, he died recently, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What?
He did. He was ill. There was something wrong with him.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
I had no idea he'd gone. Okay.
Yeah. Well, there was something about a door opening randomly when he was trying to sleep or something like that. I could be totally wrong here. I glanced at this. And then the System of a Down guitarist, Darren Malakian, he said that his amp tubes would act strangely at 4 p.m. every day. And then Chad Smith, while the Red Hot Chili Peppers were recording Blood Sugar Sex Magic, he refused to live there while they were recording. He stayed somewhere else and just came during the day to record.
Well, because of its because of the
reputation. And then John Frusciante said that he'd experienced something, but it was a positive experience for him. And the cover art of that album was based around a photograph that they took while in the mansion of a kind of orb, which they considered to be some sort of ghost thing.
Factoids.
Ghost thing.
Incredible factoids from Jack. This is incredible. Okay, so System of a Down, Chili Peppers, Slipknot, all
which
bands.
are all Rick Rubin produced. I guess he must have chosen the recording venue because
he owned that place. That's the one that I saw. It's actually it was his to use. However, but
that makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, the Houdini thing. So what is it? Like an obsession with Houdini, or just
I don't know.
That's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. All right.
There you go.
So we got Blood Sugar Sex Magic. I would count that as. Someone recently asked me to name my top album, my favourite ever album. That for me is impossible. I would say that Blood Sugar Sex Magic would sit in the top 3. Whatever the order would be. I couldn't tell you what, like first, second or third, but it's there. And I think
it's up there for me as well.
It's got so much to it, and they say there's like an atmosphere to the album that's really, really great. And a lot of people say that it's because of all this stuff to do with the Haunted Mansion or whatever. I don't know. I just feel like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, the charm of them, they're great musicians, all of them. They always have been, etc., etc. But it's about the connection, and it's these kind of atmospheric things that's built by the connection or the strange things they might do, like with this haunted house. And I think you can hear that in the album. I think that's one of the things that makes it cool.
Yeah, I think Blood Sugar Sex Magic was it was a meeting point. Because if you listen to their other, so they've got their self-titled debut. Mm-hmm. Then they've got Freaky Styley. Then they've got the Uplift Mofo Party Plan. And then Mother's Milk, which was the first one with John Frusciante.
Of course, it was Hillel Slovak before that, yeah.
But if you listen to the first, especially the first 3 albums, it is generally just kind of a crazy funk riff and a bit of rapping. And the lyrics, it's not, they haven't really, Anthony Kiedis hasn't really figured out how to sing. It's more of a kind of a running around screaming and rapping. The lyrics are a bit, I don't know, they're very young, energetic guys recording those albums.
Which is their sound, and they're going to lose that as they're a lot older now, of course.
And, if you look at Mother's Milk, there's a bit more songwriting to it. It's a bit more melodic. And I think there's that marriage of that crazy kind of elements of funk, elements of punk, but mixed with a bit of song. That's very disrespectful to both of those genres, but there's more melody going on with Mother's Milk, and then they perfect it in Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
No, I understand that. I heard ideas as well that because before Mother's Milk it was Hillel Slovak. Yeah. He died from an overdose, a heroin overdose, I think.
Yeah.
He was again, part of that really tight unit that I mentioned there. Both bunch of buddies, and the sort of more melodic elements were coming from putting more emotion into it, because part of the band just died, one of their friends, etc. So I get that, and they started moving. Well, they maintained that kind of funky sound that was still in the soul of the music.
Yeah.
With Blood Sugar, even with Californication and By the Way, but and of course, what album am I forgetting?
Which ones have you said? Californication, By the Way?
The one with Dave Navarro.
Oh, 1 Hot Minute.
1 Hot Minute.
That's a weird one, man.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Well, okay, segue then. Let's go for 1 Hot Minute, just to keep things moving. That's an interesting album too. Why is it weird? I still think it holds atmosphere. I still think...
I like it, but it's weird. Aeroplane, I played that in a covers band when I was 17.
It's probably my favourite song by them.
Great song.
It's not my favourite album at all, but that's probably the favourite.
Brilliant song.
Yeah.
My Friends, again, I love that as an acoustic song. I used to play that all the time when I was learning guitar.
Yeah.
And they've got some weird ones on that.
They like talking about their friends. I remember the first time I saw them, they finished with Me and My Friends. Could you imagine them doing that nowadays? I just couldn't. To go back to the original thing of what modern Chili Peppers are.
This was a staple in their Californication tour. There's a DVD that I had when I was 13.
Yeah, that was the tour. That's the one I saw. Yeah,
and
I was 16, I think. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, like they were touring with the Foo Fighters in America.
19 years ago. Yeah.
And they used to. Apparently, Chad Smith was always pulling pranks on the Foo Fighters before they went on.
No way.
And so, like, to get back at him, this is in the DVD, but they've done it in a few shows, I think. Or it might have been Woodstock '99, or would have been, I don't know, whatever it was. But like, while they were playing Me and My Friends, they started like dropping thousands and thousands of ping pong balls on top of the drum kit. Then they were throwing spaghetti at him and spilling beer over him. And then Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins come out onto the stage and start like messing around with everybody. And yeah, just chaos.
What a life, man! I mean, that's the life we do. That's why we took up playing guitar, basically, wasn't it? Where we just wanted that, you know. Yeah, I couldn't believe it, because I've seen them 3 times, and it got progressively worse. We were talking about this, because you're planning to go to this gig in Seville, right?
Yeah, I bought my tickets.
You got it now,
Yeah.
okay, good for you. I'm going to skip, because I have seen them 3 times, and I'm not very motivated. I can imagine it's going to go to more of a stadium rock thing, though. I imagine by now they've probably sorted it out. They know what their direction is, and they're going to plan their show accordingly.
Yeah.
The last time I saw them when it kind of sucked, to be honest, was at Reading Festival. They were headlining. It was off the back of By the Way, I'm pretty sure. I think so, anyway.
By the Way came out in 2002, so...
Ooh, maybe not. When did Stadium Arcadium come out, do you know?
2006.
It probably was actually Stadium Arcadium tour then. Okay, yeah. And someone stormed off. It was either Frusciante or Kiedis, or maybe both. They finished off with a jam that just kind of petered out. I keep mentioning atmosphere or soul or whatever. It was just lacking completely, you know.
That's a real shame, because I've seen videos. 2003 they played Slane in Ireland.
Okay.
And like the videos, it seems great. They released a live DVD of that live at Slane Castle.
And that's fine.
I remember really wanting to go to see them then, but I was 12 and I wasn't allowed.
What was your first ever gig?
Iron Maiden.
How old were you?
I was 15. It was 2006, December
awesome.
2006.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I remember Bruce Dickinson. First of all, there was some sort of band that Steve Harris's daughter was singing in. I can't remember the name of the band.
Okay.
And then Trivium supported them. Remember the height of popularity then, 2006, Trivium.
Yeah, okay. I remember going to Download Festival.
Yeah, they were like, the bee's knees for about a year there. When Ascendancy came out, that was 2005, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they were playing, and then finally, we've been waiting for ages. We've been queuing up for hours outside it was the Point Theatre in Dublin, which is now called the 3 Arena, I think.
And still never been to Dublin. It's on the list, 100%
anyway,
on the list.
Yeah, I remember we queued up for hours. None of us had dinner or anything. We were all just dead. And then they finally came on, Iron Maiden. We were like, oh yes, great. And then Bruce Dickinson said they just released a new album, Matter of Life and Death, I think it was called.
Okay.
And they said, all right, we're going to play every song from our new album. And if you don't like it, you can off. And I was like, oh, all right. So we sat through the entire new album, which nobody cared about.
Oh,
and then they played a few of their hits, and I was like, okay.
That kind of thing will happen. It happened to me with Chili Peppers with that final gig.
When was the last time you saw me? 2012 or 2000?
I think I was 20. I think it was 2006.
Okay.
Back at Stadium Arcadium. That's
right.
I was trying to pinpoint it. I'm just remembering. It was I was there with one of my exes. I think I was 20 at the time. It's probably that tour, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, again, they saturated the gig with lots of new stuff. They played a couple of songs from Blood Sugar Sex Magik, but nothing more really. Radiohead. The last time I saw them, still a great gig because they're a consistently great band. But I saw them in Spain at Bilbao, BBK. Yeah, before I lived here, that was my first time in mainland Spain.
That's
in Bilbao. Cool. Yeah, it was awesome. And again, they played Paranoid Android from OK Computer. Otherwise, nothing from sort of anything over their last couple of albums at that point. It's a shame. I think there's a sense of, you've got to promote your new stuff. I understand this, but these people are fans of your music for a certain reason, usually, and this, we might have the Chili Peppers as an exception. We're talking about that too, but in the case of someone like Radiohead, there's going to be history and foundations to it, I feel like you've got to give people a little more.
It's a tough one though.
It is, I get it, yeah.
Because if you predominantly rely on your older songs, you're acknowledging that your recent stuff is irrelevant. I saw the Chili Peppers for the only time that I've seen them in. It was either 2011 or 2012. I think it was 2011. They were touring, they were promoting I'm With You, which had come out 2 years earlier. Was it 2009 that it came out? Maybe it was later. Maybe it was 2011. I don't know. I can't remember.
Sure.
But yeah, I remember it was crap. Yeah.
Okay. What was the crap? What was crap?
Okay, there was a few reasons. Firstly, and this isn't their fault, there were too many people around me, and I remember there was like a crush at the beginning of
Damn you, Chili Peppers!
Sit down, you're ruining it for everyone. But I'm not the tallest person, so we were up near the front, but it was just I was completely blocked off by a sea of people, couldn't move. It was really kind of uncomfortable.
Back in the day when stuff like that would actually happen too, they're a lot stricter about it nowadays.
People hard to think about this during COVID,
especially, Alright, so a bit of a bad logistical experience.
Then also, like, Anthony Kiedis had a cold apparently, he wasn't singing very well.
He's never really. I mentioned earlier how great they are as musicians. I mean, I guess I'm 3/4 right. Kiedis knows what he's doing, but he's not a great singer.
And they played a lot of the stuff from I'm With You, which I didn't really care about. So I don't remember. I don't actually have a memory of them playing a song that I really like and me really enjoying it, which is terrible.
So I have to ask, without belittling what you're doing with the gig, what are you expecting? Like, why did you buy that ticket? Do you think they'll go back and please the crowd a bit more?
I bought the ticket for 2 reasons. Number one, I've never seen them with John Frusciante.
Okay.
John Frusciante was a big guitar influence on me when I was growing up.
Jack's a great guitarist, so it makes a lot of sense. See one of your idols, yeah.
Well, exactly. So I want to see him, and I want to see the chemistry that they have when they're all together. So, no disrespect to the guy who was filling off. I've heard he's a really good musician, but I didn't. When I think of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I think of these 4 musicians.
Of course, no, I understand.
That's all the albums that I grew up listening to had these 4 musicians, and specifically what stood out for me was John Frusciante's guitar playing. So that's what I want to see. Secondly, well, maybe the 3 reasons. Secondly, Seville doesn't get that many gigs. Yeah,
not many big gigs.
Well,
really.
Not compared to Dublin or somewhere, or like Barcelona or Madrid.
London or somewhere, sure.
Where there's bands coming all the time. You tend to get some massive bands will come. Like Guns N' Roses are coming next year as well, I think.
To Seville?
Yeah. They were meant to play 2020, but
I'm assuming that's already sold out, right?
Yeah, it was sold out in 2019, I
think. Okay. Oh right, it's the postponed.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't get. I'm always saying like, oh, there's not like nobody ever comes to Seville. And then when the Red Hot Chili Peppers were coming, a band that I've loved growing up, and I was kind of humming and hawing, thinking, oh, last time I saw them wasn't very good. I was like, come on, would you just if nobody goes to these shows, then like, what are you doing complaining that nobody comes to the city if you're not even going to see the bands that are coming?
Yeah, so that's cool.
I'm gonna, at the very least, now it's not like me not going would change it. It's going to probably sold out in 5 minutes. But it's still
loyalty to the city. I like it. You're feeling like a Sevillano.
Right, go to the shows and hopefully. If more people have that mindset, then maybe more bands will come. I think.
Support the scene, really, that's what they say. Yeah, of course.
But I do think that I imagine that the whole hype around John Frusciante coming back, is that they will go back to the Californication, Blood Sugar Sex Magik, by the way, like that, and I guess Stadium Arcadium. I would imagine that they'd be pretty light on their last 2 albums, because he didn't play on them. Now, I would say they must play one or two.
Really, really good point. That's a very good point. That makes me maybe want to look at tickets, actually. I don't know.
That's one of the things I thought as well. The set list might be really good because they haven't been... Then again, it's an insult to the other three members of the group if they don't play anything from the last two albums either, because then it says like, oh...
Without me or nothing.
So I don't know.
I don't know. It's the units back together. It depends if they're playing on that. I truly, truly believe that the marketing team has a big thing to say in this. Not just with the Chili's. That's not a dig at the Chili's. I think that goes around. Look at someone like Green Day as well, or whatever. You know, these things happen. But
Green Day played in Seville recently. They played in Plaza España.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Green Day.
2019.
Green Day are the other band other than the Chili's that I went off after a bad gig. Yeah, really disappointed. They were my favourite band by a country mile when I was sort of early teens. I finally got to see them, and I had a good night. And I'm not even saying they were that bad, but something just, I don't know, it just flipped the switch, the internal switch about sort of liking or disliking the band. Like you can't get around that. Once it's sunk, it takes a lot to get back out, especially when. In my opinion, much like the Chili Peppers, they turn into a pop band. They turn into a band that's taking advice from their label.
How old were you when American Idiot came out, and how did you feel about it? Because that was a big departure from what they normally did, wasn't it?
And that was pretty much the end of it for me, I think. How old was I? I was still at school, I think.
I was 16. Maybe it was 2003, wasn't it? It came out.
I'm 16 or 17. I'm sixth form, maybe. Yeah.
This is embarrassing for me to admit, but I had never heard of Green Day until American Idiot came out.
Really?
I thought they were a new band. I was 12 when it came out, though. I didn't know. I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
You got to remember, like the context in which I grew up was just people listening to like German dance music and stuff like that. It was just.
I didn't know that.
Generally, like Cascada.
Jack for a long time.
Do you know like Scooter, Cascada, those kind of? They were really popular in the west of Ireland in the late 90s, early 2000s.
But since then, have you gone back and listened to Dookie? Because I'd still
love Dookie.
I think that's a top 10 album.
Oh yeah, of course. That's got like that has Basket Case, When I Come Around. Long View.
The album tracks are phenomenal as well. They've got some really, really good.
In fact, like I didn't actually own a copy of Dookie. My sister bought the International Super Hits. The compilation album that came out before American Idiot.
So, off the back of all of that, let's talk about gigs. Have you got a best and or worst gig that you can think of? Or maybe one or two that are great for specific reasons?
I've got to think. I went to a lot of gigs when I was 16 because I was working in a supermarket called Super Value in Ireland.
I don't think we have that.
No, you don't. It's very, very Irish. And then that gave me the money to be able to go, because where I grew up west of Ireland, miles away from where they do gigs. So going to a gig meant getting yourself to Dublin.
Wow, it's a holiday basically.
Oh, it's a 4-hour train ride.
Right.
Or if there were enough people going to a gig, so if it was someone big like if it was Metallica or something like that, then enough people in the town would hire a coach and you'd get the coach up and you'd get it back later that night.
Don't they make use of the stadiums? Because you got the stadia, they've got big Gaelic football stadiums.
Croke Park, they do some big... in fact, I was just talking to a friend of mine. He saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers in Croke Park in Dublin in 2012. He said it was not good. There's a running theme here.
But I still believe, I'm only for you. You're the reason I want this gig to be great. That's basically
In fact, that gig venue is notorious for neighbours complaining because it was it's in the neighbourhood of Drumcondra in Dublin. It's very residential, very close to the city centre, and I think it grew into a massive thing. When a lot of people bought their houses there, it wasn't this massive football stadium that also did events. It was just, the Dublin team played there, the All Ireland played there.
And then they got stuck with the live music and stuff.
So now they have to apply for a license to have a concert because it does annoy the neighbours.
So I could give you, best gig is hard if I'm trying to give one. It's because different gigs are great for different reasons. My first gig was 14 years old watching System of a Down. I'd only ever heard Chop Suey. A friend of mine who'd done his research was like, do you want to go to this gig? It's Brixton Academy. It got postponed because of the 9/11.
Wow.
Yeah. So we got onto it the second time round. My brother came too.
You got to see System of a Down in 2002?
I didn't know they were a metal band. I heard Chop Suey and I thought that hard, quite melodic poppy rock,
Oh,
at the time when new metal was the thing, Then I got to the gig. And the band that opened the gig was called the 𝐿 Escape Plan.
I know 𝐿 Escape Plan.
Well, they were officially the first band I ever saw live.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what is this?
Heavy,
Absolutely
noisy.
insane.
Yeah.
And then System started, and they opened with Pogo. Bounce, Pogo, real. I was like, I have no idea what I've got myself in for here, but it was so good.
Down on a day with a girl up a day.
Yeah, so many friends. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Such a good band. So you got that for like the punch in the face. This is what live music is all about, Then there's others, the festival gigs. Every time I've seen Radiohead, they just put the best live show on.
I've never seen Radiohead.
But worst gig?
I think
be
I've got.
Chili Peppers. It might actually be.
I think it might be my worst gig as well.
You really think so?
Yeah.
Wow. We didn't plan this. We just
do
made
you know
this
what
whole
it
video.
was? It might have been my most disappointing gig.
That's the thing. The context is kind of
that was
what I'm trying
really
to
because
say.
they were the first. All right, I grew up as a child listening to some of my parents' music, so I liked David Bowie, I liked Queen, I liked some of those kind of things, a bit of Bob Dylan, but that was all my parents' music.
Very good from your parents.
Yeah, Red Hot Chili Peppers were the first band that my parents didn't like or didn't know that I discovered. I felt like I discovered myself, even though they were a huge band at this point. But for me, where I was growing up, it was a cool discovery of mine. And
you got something independently that was quite important. And,
I got their greatest hits and videos, which was 2003, for Christmas. It was like a stocking thing, and I loved it. I watched all the music videos and a little documentary. I went on to buy By the Way and 𝐿 bought the tablature book for By the Way, learned everything on that.
No way, you learned the whole album.
Just absolutely loved it. So I guess, it was a bit of a disappointment. Now, I wasn't mad into the Chili Peppers when they played in 2011, I think it was. But yeah, it was a bit disappointing. Another gig that wasn't very good was, well, not really. I went to see Trivium when they played in the Academy in Dublin. I mainly went because my friend, we used to love Trivium, and then I kind of went off them when their second album came out.
Sure.
And I wasn't really interested in seeing them anymore. But my friend really wanted to go, and I think he bought my ticket actually. So I thought, I'll go definitely. So we went, and Trivium, I remember, it was just noise. I couldn't. It wasn't.
Escape
No, but it wasn't. It wasn't the music that was the problem. It was just the sound. Sometimes when you're playing metalcore indoors, it's just bouncing off. The acoustics were terrible. However, the bands supporting them were Gojira and Annihilator. Gojira are this French metal band. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
I've never heard of them. I love Annihilator for a name, though. That's good.
Annihilator are brilliant.
Yeah.
They're like a thrash metal band, a Canadian thrash metal band from the 80s. So good. I recommend you check them out. They're really, really good. But I remember being blown away by the two supporting acts. Then later on, because this was 2006, I think, or 2007 maybe, all my friends at home got into Gojira because they blew up shortly afterwards. They became well known in the metal scene, and I was the only one who'd seen them. They're like, oh, you fucking hipster.
You're super hipster.
Yeah,
metal hipster.
I've been dragged into a Trivium gig and they happen to be supporting. So
that's not a bad shout. Best supporting band.
I
mean, 𝐿 Escape Plan is not my type of music, but definitely entertaining to see. I remember, unfortunately, the band, they just weren't very good afterwards, and B, they had that horrible issue with the singer. But when I saw the Lost Prophets, I know. But the supporting band there, I've never seen a supporting band get the attention of the crowd. They didn't already know them. It's not like the Strokes supporting the Chili Peppers, for example, where everyone's going to be like, wow, it was great,
I'd love to see the Strokes.
Oh, they're great live. People criticise them. I really, really enjoyed it when I saw them. It was the Strokes and the Pixies at...
You saw the Pixies?
They one after the other. So actually, if I can twist the subject, this sort of best and worst gigs, 2 gigs together at a festival, you don't get much better than that. That was wild.
The Pixies played in Ireland once in my lifetime, and it sold out in 2 seconds, and I couldn't see them.
Wow.
And God, I would love some Pixies.
And I was kind of spoiled with that because I didn't know so much of them. I still don't, to be honest, but I've seen them twice, both times at festivals.
Yeah.
But I was in the music scene at home. We had quite a good music scene.
Growing up in southern England in general, where every band comes
right next to London, very, very easy. I think door to door from my parents' house.
Not only London, but also you're close to Glastonbury and down there. It's all in the general kind of area.
We all have our different definitions of close. Glastonbury was a pretty long drive from London. It was Well, no, sorry, the traffic probably did that. It was about 6 hours in total.
Oh, okay, I suppose that, yeah.
But no, on a clear day, yeah, you're not going too far. Reading Festival's very close
Reading,
as well.
yeah.
Very close.
I can't think of any like really terrible gigs that I've been to, but I've been to a few forgettable ones. I don't really remember. I remember going to see My Chemical Romance when I was 16. Loved them at the time.
I completely skipped that phase, actually. That's interesting.
You're a bit older than me, though.
Yeah, I guess so. 5 years difference between us. You've
Yeah.
probably noticed by now.
I was prime age for the emo explosion in the mid 2000s, whereas
Did you have like you had like dyed black hair over the?
Yeah, the
You had
the fringe, the
and
lip
stuff.
ring. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the lip ring too. Jeez,
Yeah, I got
okay.
a scarf from that because I let my friend do it instead of getting it done
No
properly.
way. You just need a thumbtack and a whole load of tissues. Yes.
She pierced my friend's lip first. And he fainted.
No.
And then she was like, alright, you're next. I was like, alright.
And what did mum and dad say?
Oh, my parents really disowned me. The same weekend I dyed my hair black and got a lip ring. They're like, oh, Jack.
What next?
Ah.
What next?
Yeah.
I can't think of any disappointing gigs from when I was like a teenager, to be honest. It was always just up for the party, if it was a festival, or it was a night out in the city, if it was,
Yeah.
you know.
I always liked the pre-gig crack. I used to love getting on the coach or the train up to Dublin with everyone who was going to the gig.
Go.
And we if it was the train, we had to get the train at like 7 a.m. or something, and we'd be on it from 7 a.m.
Already drinking.
Now we were those like nowadays. I got the train recently, like going when I visited home, and there was a group of lads, a couple of seats up from me that were there in the morning drinking, shouting, screaming, no mask, and I was like, oh, how could you be so obnoxious? And I went to another car, and then I was just thinking like, oh yeah, when I was 16, I was exactly that person. except I was blasting metal on top of that. So I was just wonder I wasn't thrown off the train.
You mentioned Metallica. I remember one of the better gigs I've seen actually, and I've seen Metallica 3 or 4 times. 4 times, I think, mostly festivals. But it was the 20th. I think the 20th anniversary of Master of Puppets. So they did the whole album, track for track.
2006.
2006, 20 years old. Yeah, download 100%. Yeah. Start to finish, Master of Puppets? Yeah. What tracks are on Master of Puppets?
Battle Rain!
Yeah, exactly.
The Thing That Should Not Be, Welcome Home.
There's one song.
Disposable Heroes, Leper Messiah. What's the 7th one? I can't remember. Then Orion.
Okay, Orion's the one. Oh, Orion live.
Oh,
it's not the kind of track they normally play live. That's the impression I was getting from like the more hardcore fans there. So actually being able to see that live was
Cliff song, isn't it? Cliff
Burton, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And they did talk about Cliff during the set because
because that was proper. Like that was. Well, I mean, there's plenty of amazing bass players throughout history, but it was one of the ones where people who wouldn't really seek out that, who didn't know like Jacob Pastorius or something like that.
Sure, yeah.
They Cliff Burton was probably the only mainstream, not really, but like the well-known bass player that would be playing solos and stuff in a conventional metal band.
Metal's good. Okay, sure, yeah.
Flea as well, but another like really well-known one, just because it highlights the bass. It's not a background instrument, which it like tends to be in a lot of rock bands. Yeah,
I get that. And correct me if I'm wrong, the guy fell out of a window on a tour bus.
Yeah, in Sweden.
In Sweden, was it? Okay. See, I don't know. I for me, it's Black Album. That's the Metallica I really, really know. You know, I enjoyed Master of Puppets. How does that sit with you then, as someone who's probably a bigger fan of the group?
I think we were talking about Chili Peppers changing their style.
Okay.
Leaving their kind of roots to go into something else. And I think the Black Album is where Metallica made a seismic shift in their music.
Very interesting. More melodic, stuff like Nothing Else Matters.
I consider the Black Album a rock album, a heavy rock album, whereas before that it was pure thrash metal.
Because battery and stuff. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like it. Yeah.
And I'm a Metallica snob, really. Like I only like Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets.
Right.
Yeah, I only like those two, and I love those two.
You don't like the Black Album?
I don't like the Black Album.
Could you pick a track you like from it?
I enjoy Enter Sandman as a rock song.
Okay.
But I wish that somebody else had played it. Also, I do like it for its comic. Like I was like Enter Light.
I mean, James Hetfield was great with this. He had the best. Ooh yeah.
Ooh yeah. Yeah, but he wasn't like that in the 80s.
Really?
He was.
It's like Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. If you go back and listen to the early stuff, he's got none of that.
Yeah, exactly. That's all. Oh god.
Well, this
I like that. I've laughed a lot from people just doing impressions of Jane Settville. I think that's the best thing to come from Metallica post Cliff Burton's death.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, and also why not? But it kind of goes back to I think I said this about the Chili's earlier. You know, it's maybe that is marketing team getting involved and saying, hey, you got a big maybe Southern American audience say or
Bob Rock. He produced the Black Album and he was credited with changing their musical direction.
Wow, okay.
And Justice for All was their last thrash metal album. It had its moments. It had one, but I wasn't a big fan of it. They completely turned down the level of the bass guitar tracks on the album, the final mixture. So if you listen to it, it's just guitar and drums.
Wow, okay.
It's I don't know. It's compared to when you think of how big a role the bass played in Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning. And then just to have that removed, it's just a shell of what it was. So the whole like Metallica Megadeth rivalry, I think it's irrelevant post 1991.
I didn't even know that was a rivalry, to be honest.
I mean, you know the history of Dave Mustaine and
no,
okay.
All right.
You're not a metalhead, so yeah.
Not really. All right, we're gonna finish this in a second. So this is final anecdote. Let's go, Jack. Come on.
Okay, I'm gonna alienate the audience even more now. Anyone who likes to metal. So Metallica started off without Kirk Hammett. Dave Mustaine was the original guitar player.
Oh, okay.
And Dave Mustaine, they were all pretty wild in the early 80s, but Dave Mustaine was especially so. And he wasn't showing up to rehearsals, and he was getting in fights. So there was some incident where I think it was either James Hetfield kicked his dog, or he kicked James Hetfield's dog, or something like that.
Someone kicked someone's dog.
A dog got kicked, and there was a big fight, and basically Dave Mustaine was kicked out of the band. Dave Mustaine formed Megadeth, and he was the lead. He was the singer and the guitar player, and then he was a really good guitar player. But then he also hired like the best guitar players that he could get. He's gone through a few of them because nobody can work with him because he's
difficult guy.
Yeah, but like he had thrash metal albums in the 80s. He had the first one was I can't remember. Like Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. Peace Sells, but Who's Buying? So Far So Good, So What? They had a few, and then they had Rust in Peace, which came out in 1991.
That's the big one as well.
Now,
right?
That came out, if I'm not mistaken, if not the same year, around the same time. It was either 1990, 1991. It came out around the same time as Metallica's Black Album, and that marked a crucial fork in the road with both of those bands, because Metallica had gone a bit more commercial, a bit more. They'd eased off and gone more into a hard rock kind of genre, and they became. Their audience grew exponentially. Suddenly, everybody who listened to rock and grunge and everything also listened to Metallica, whereas beforehand it was just thrash metal fans.
Right. Okay.
In the meantime, Megadeth released like one of the best thrash metal albums of all time. Now, people who listen to Nirvana and other bands and aren't really into metal, they wouldn't have heard about it, but it was incredible. And there's still a bit of a Metallica-Megadeth rivalry, and a lot of people who are on the Metallica side, when you talk to them, it usually comes out that they're not really into metal. Like they like stuff from Metallica where it's like it's incomparable to Megadeth. So there's no point. You can't compare anything from the Black Album to anything from Rust in Peace.
Well, that's all we have time for. Many thanks to Jack for opening up the cavity of curiosity and staring deeply into its wide, gaping hole. Thank you, sir.
That's what I like to do.
Who doesn't? If you've enjoyed this video, enjoy our content in general, please do like and share and comment on the video. It really helps us out. It helps us grow. It helps us in those complicated algorithms that all the social medias have. So it would be doing us a huge favour, and we can continue doing these things for you. And thank you so much.